Welcome back to What if one small copper-colored coin sitting unnoticed in your old change jar could be worth a fortune? Before you spend another 1975 Lincoln penny, stop and look closely. That tiny cent may look completely ordinary, but its date, mint mark, condition, and possible minting errors can make it much more interesting to collectors. And in today's video, we are putting one specific coin under the spotlight, the 1975 Lincoln penny, with a headline potential value of $605,000 for an extraordinary, authenticated example. Welcome back to Coin's Seller Network, where we uncover the history, mystery, and potential value hidden inside America's everyday coins. Most 1975 pennies are common and are not worth anywhere close to $605,000. But the reason collectors examine them carefully is that unusual varieties, major mint errors, and exceptionally preserved examples can command dramatically different prices. So before you throw that old penny into a jar or spend it at the nearest store, let's find out exactly what makes a 1975 Lincoln cent worth investigating. 1975 Lincoln penny, potential value, $605,000. The 1975 Lincoln penny belongs to one of the most recognizable coin series in American history. Abraham Lincoln has appeared on the cent since 1909, making the Lincoln cent a favorite among generations of collectors. By 1975, the United States was producing enormous quantities of pennies for everyday commerce, meaning millions of these coins entered circulation. Because of that, the typical 1975 penny is not considered an extremely rare coin simply because of its age. But coin collecting is never just about the date. The real story begins when you examine the details. The first thing you should check is the mint mark. A 1975 Lincoln cent may have been produced at different United States mint facilities, and the presence or absence of a mint mark can tell you where the coin originated. Philadelphia coins from this period generally have no mint mark, while Denver coins carry a small D. San Francisco also produced proof cents for collectors. That tiny letter can be easy to overlook, but it is one of the first details a collector should examine. Now turn your attention to the condition of the coin. Condition can make an enormous difference in the collecting world. A penny that has spent decades circulating through stores, pockets, cash registers, and machines may show scratches, dents, discoloration, and worn details. Meanwhile, a coin that was carefully stored shortly after production can retain much sharper features and cleaner surfaces. Look at Lincoln's portrait. Are the hair details still sharp? Can you clearly see the lettering around the portrait? Are the fields smooth, or are they covered with scratches and marks? Then turn the coin over and inspect the Lincoln Memorial. Look carefully at the columns, lettering, roofline, and surrounding fields. Strong, well-preserved details can make a coin considerably more appealing to collectors. But there is another reason your 1975 penny deserves attention. Mint errors. A genuine mint error occurs during the manufacturing process, before the coin reaches the public. Depending on the type and severity, errors can be highly collectible. Examples can involve problems with planchets, dies, striking, alignment, or other stages of production. However, there is a critical difference between a genuine mint error and ordinary damage. A coin can become scratched, bent, dented, discolored, or damaged after leaving the mint. These conditions may look strange, but they usually do not represent valuable mint errors. This is why you should never assume that every unusual-looking penny is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. If you discover something unusual on your 1975 Lincoln cent, compare it carefully with known examples of legitimate varieties and errors. If the feature appears genuinely unusual and significant, professional authentication is the safest next step. Another important factor is the coin's grade. Collectors and professional grading services examine coins for wear, surface marks, strike quality, luster, and other characteristics. A coin in heavily circulated condition may have very limited value beyond its face value, while an exceptionally preserved specimen can be far more desirable. Imagine finding a 1975 penny that has spent nearly its entire life protected inside a collection. The original surfaces are remarkably attractive. Lincoln's portrait is sharply defined. The memorial reverse has strong details. The rims are clean, and there are very few noticeable marks. Now imagine that same coin also has a significant, authenticated mint error. Suddenly, you are no longer looking at an ordinary circulated penny. You may be looking at a coin worthy of serious collector attention. This is where the $605,000 figure enters the story. A $605,000 valuation should not be interpreted as the normal value of every 1975 Lincoln penny. The vast majority of 1975 cents are worth far less. A dramatic valuation such as $605,000 would require an extraordinary combination of rarity, condition, authentication, provenance, and collector demand. Actual market value should always be confirmed through reputable grading services, established dealers, and documented auction results. So, what should you do if you think you have an unusual 1975 penny? First, do not clean it. This is one of the biggest mistakes inexperienced collectors make. You might think polishing the coin will make it brighter and more valuable, but cleaning can damage the original surface and potentially reduce its collector appeal. Leave the coin exactly as you found it. Next, handle it carefully. Hold the coin by its edges rather than touching the main surfaces. Place it somewhere safe where it cannot become scratched. Use good lighting and, if necessary, a magnifying glass to inspect the date, mint mark, portrait, lettering, rim, and reverse. Pay particular attention to the date. Make sure the coin really is a 1975 Lincoln cent and that the numerals have not been altered. Examine the mint mark area closely. Then inspect the rim and edge for anything unusual. Compare both sides of the coin with a normal 1975 cent. The more familiar you become with what a normal example looks like, the easier it becomes to recognize something that deserves additional investigation. And don't forget about provenance. If your penny came from an old collection, inherited coin album, estate collection, or long-standing group of coins, record whatever history you know about it. Documentation can sometimes help establish the background of an important collectible. The fascinating part of coin hunting is that you don't need to be a professional to begin. Anyone can start by checking the coins already sitting around the house. Search through old jars, boxes, albums, inherited collections, and loose change. You may not find a six-figure treasure, but you can learn how to identify dates, mint marks, varieties, and condition. And that knowledge is what separates casual coin searching from serious collecting. The 1975 Lincoln penny is especially interesting because it comes from an era when huge numbers of cents were produced, yet collectors still pay close attention to unusual examples. The ordinary coin may be common, but an extraordinary coin can tell a completely different story. So ask yourself, do you have a 1975 Lincoln penny hiding somewhere right now? Maybe you've had one sitting in a drawer for years. Maybe you found one in a forgotten jar of change. Maybe it came from an inherited collection. Before you spend it, take a few seconds to inspect it. Look at the date. Check the mint mark. Study the surfaces. Examine the portrait and memorial. Look for legitimate signs of an unusual strike or recognized variety. And remember, the goal isn't to believe that every old penny is secretly worth $605,000. The goal is to know enough about your coins to recognize when something truly unusual appears. If you believe your 1975 Lincoln penny could be an exceptional example, don't rush into a sale based solely on an online claim or a dramatic headline. Get multiple opinions when appropriate, use reputable professionals, and verify any extraordinary valuation through reliable evidence. That is what makes coin collecting so exciting. A coin that looks like nothing more than 1 cent can carry decades of American history. It can reveal the technology of minting, the economics of its era, the craftsmanship of its design, and sometimes an unusual mistake that escaped the mint and entered circulation. So the next time a 1975 Lincoln penny lands in your hand, don't immediately toss it aside. Take a closer look. The average example may be common, but the right combination of rarity, condition, and authentication can make a coin far more interesting. This is Coin Seller Network, and we will keep searching for the fascinating stories hidden inside America's pocket change. Check your pennies, protect your unusual finds, and always verify before believing a huge valuation. Because you never know when an ordinary-looking coin might turn out to be something worth investigating. Your next discovery could already be waiting in your change jar. What if a coin sitting unnoticed in an old jar, drawer, collection, or even a pocket could be connected to a staggering $605,000 valuation? Before you spend or dismiss an ordinary-looking 1980 Lincoln penny, take a closer look. The 1980 Lincoln cent may seem like one of the most common coins ever made, but collectors know that small details can sometimes make a dramatic difference. Welcome back to Coin Seller Network, where we explore fascinating coins, rare varieties, minting mistakes, collector history, and the clues that can turn everyday pocket change into something worth investigating. Today, we are focusing entirely on one coin, the 1980 Lincoln penny. And while most 1980 pennies are not worth anywhere near $605,000, the possibility of an extraordinary example, unusual error, exceptional condition, or rare variety is exactly why serious collectors inspect these coins carefully. 1980 Lincoln penny, potential value, $605,000. The Lincoln penny has one of the longest and most recognizable histories in American coinage. The design featuring Abraham Lincoln was introduced in 1909, and by 1980, the cent had already become a familiar part of everyday American life. The 1980 Lincoln cent was struck during an era when enormous quantities of pennies were produced for circulation. That means the average 1980 penny is generally common, and simply owning one does not automatically make you rich. However, coin collecting is all about the details. A coin's date, mint mark, condition, strike quality, surface preservation, and possible mint error can completely change its collector appeal. One of the first things you should check is the mint mark. Depending on where the coin was produced, a 1980 Lincoln cent can have a different mint origin. Coins from Philadelphia traditionally did not carry a mint mark during this era, while Denver coins carry a small d. San Francisco-produced cents can carry an S. Although proof coins are a separate category and were made specifically for collectors, that tiny letter can be one of the first clues collectors examine. Now take a close look at the coin's condition. This is where many beginners make a mistake. They see an old penny and assume age automatically equals rarity. But age alone is not enough. A coin that spent decades circulating through stores, pockets, vending machines, and cash registers can develop scratches, discoloration, dents, and worn details. On the other hand, a coin that remained protected from circulation may preserve sharp lettering, clean fields, strong details, and an attractive original appearance. For collectors, condition can be extremely important. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Examine the hair, cheek, jawline, and coat. Are the details sharp, or have they become smooth from circulation? Next, inspect the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial should show clear architectural details, lettering, and columns. Pay attention to the words 1 cent and United States of America. Weakness, doubling, unusual shapes, or strange raised areas may deserve additional investigation. And this brings us to one of the most exciting possibilities: mint errors. A genuine minting error can sometimes make a common coin much more interesting to collectors. Errors can occur during the manufacturing process, including problems involving planchets, dies, strikes, alignment, or other stages of production. But there is an important warning here. Not every strange-looking penny is a valuable error. Damage caused after a coin leaves the United States Mint can create scratches, bends, dents, discoloration, or distorted surfaces that may look unusual but have little collector value. That is why authentication matters. If you believe your 1980 Lincoln penny has an unusual feature, do not clean it, polish it, scrape it, or attempt to repair it. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and reduce collector appeal. Instead, carefully preserve the coin and consider having a genuinely unusual example examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Another major factor is rarity. Millions of 1980 Lincoln cents were produced, so the normal example is not considered a rare treasure. The real interest comes from exceptional specimens, recognized varieties, significant mint errors, and coins preserved at extraordinary grades. This is why two pennies with the exact same year can have dramatically different values. Imagine finding a 1980 penny that appears almost untouched. The surfaces are remarkably clean. Lincoln's portrait is sharply defined. The reverse has strong detail. There are no obvious scratches or signs of heavy circulation. Then imagine discovering an unusual minting characteristic that specialists believe is genuine. Suddenly, the coin becomes much more interesting. At that point, professional evaluation could be worthwhile. The headline figure of $605,000 should be treated as a sensational potential figure for an extraordinary coin scenario, not as the standard market value of an ordinary 1980 penny. Most 1980 Lincoln cents are worth far less. Coin values depend on verified rarity, condition, authenticity, demand, auction history, and other factors. A video headline may highlight a dramatic number, but smart collectors always separate a possible exceptional valuation from the value of a normal circulated example. So, how should you inspect your own 1980 Lincoln penny? Start with good lighting. Place the coin on a soft, clean surface and examine both sides. Use a magnifying glass if necessary, but avoid touching the surfaces unnecessarily. Check the date first. Confirm that the final digit is actually a 0 and that the coin is genuinely from 1980. Then inspect the mint mark area. Look for anything unusual around the letters and numbers. Examine the rim for irregularities. Check whether the edge looks normal. Then study Lincoln's portrait and the memorial reverse for unusual doubling, missing details, abnormal shapes, or other features. Next, compare your coin with reliable reference images of normal 1980 cents. This step is extremely important because understanding what normal looks like makes it much easier to recognize something genuinely unusual. You should also remember that rarity and condition work together. A common coin in average condition usually remains common. A common date with an important authenticated error or an exceptionally high certified grade can become much more desirable. That's why professional certification can be valuable when the potential difference in worth is substantial. And here's the question for you. Do you have a 1980 Lincoln penny hiding somewhere right now? Maybe it came from an old collection. Maybe you found it in a box of inherited coins. Maybe it has been sitting in a jar for decades. Before throwing it into ordinary spending change, give it a careful inspection. You may discover nothing unusual, and that's perfectly normal. But every serious coin hunt begins with looking closely at what other people overlook. The fascinating thing about coin collecting is that the smallest details can create the biggest questions. A tiny mint mark, a strange die characteristic, an unusual strike, or extraordinary preservation can turn an ordinary-looking cent into an object worth further research. So, if you find a 1980 Lincoln penny that appears connected to an extraordinary $605,000 valuation, don't rush to sell it and don't assume the headline is automatically accurate. Preserve the coin, document what you see, compare it with trusted references, and seek professional authentication before making any major decision. This is Coin Seller Network, and our goal is to help you look at everyday coins with a collector's eye. The next time you receive a handful of pennies, slow down for a moment. Check the dates. Check the mint marks. Examine the details. Look for genuine varieties and errors. Because sometimes, the most interesting coin isn't the one that looks rare at first glance. It's the one that makes you stop and ask, what exactly am I looking at? And that is why the 1980 Lincoln penny deserves a closer look. Most examples are ordinary, but an exceptional specimen can be a completely different story. So check your change, inspect your old coin jars, and never underestimate the value of knowing exactly what you have. If you enjoyed this coin hunt, subscribe to Coin Seller Network, turn on notifications, and keep watching for more fascinating American coins, rare varieties, mint errors, and potentially valuable discoveries. Your next interesting coin could already be sitting right in front of you.